Good evening, and welcome to Neutral News, the program that looks at the world and says, We have only one story tonight, a story of such profound financial significance that it makes the national debt look like a misplaced fiver. We are, of course, referring to the annual ritual of self-flagellation and mild bewilderment that is the publication of the BBC's High Earners List. We go now to our correspondent Susan, who has been staring at the figures with the grim determination of someone trying to solve a Sudoku puzzle in a hurricane. Susan.
Neil, the BBC has released its annual report revealing the salaries of its highest-paid presenters. Topping the list, in a move that has surprised absolutely no one, is Gary Lineker, who received a sum in the region of £1.35 million.
£1.35 million. Let's just allow that number to permeate the air, shall we? It's a figure that sounds less like a salary and more like the GDP of a small, pleasant island nation. A nation where, presumably, it is always sunny and the primary export is crisps. Susan, has there been any indication as to what Mr. Lineker does with all of his free time now that he is presumably only required to work for roughly 15 minutes a year?
The precise nature of his daily schedule remains a closely guarded secret, Neil. One can only assume it involves a great deal of sitting down, occasionally furrowing his brow in a thoughtful manner, and preparing to utter phrases of no more than 4 words. Phrases such as, a game of 2 halves, or, well, the ball is round. It is, by all accounts, an extraordinarily demanding role.
I can only imagine the pressure, the sheer weight of expectation. To be paid that much, one must assume that his opinions on offside traps are not just opinions, but divinely inspired prophecies delivered to him in dreams by the ghost of a particularly insightful centre-back. What has the public reaction been to this fiscal revelation?
The reaction has been of quiet, dignified resignation, Neil. Years of exposure to these figures has conditioned the British public to a state of almost Zen-like acceptance. There is no longer outrage, merely a gentle, collective sigh and the faint aroma of burnt toast as people across the land contemplate their own life choices. Many are now reportedly using the figure as a new unit of measurement. For instance, the pothole in their street is now estimated to cost approximately 0.001 Linekers to repair.
It's a practical application, I suppose. It brings a certain cosmic scale to the mundanity of everyday life. Now, we understand there are other names on this list, names that, while not reaching the vertiginous heights of the Lineker stratosphere, are nonetheless nestling comfortably in the fiscal ionosphere.
That is correct, Neil. The list is peppered with figures that in any other context would seem astronomical. Zoe Ball, for example, is reported to earn just under £1 million for her work on the radio.
£1 million. 2, and I wish to be scrupulously fair here, play records. Records that have already been recorded by artists who have already been paid. Her role, as I understand it, is to provide a cheerful and breezy interlude between the songs, a service that until now I had assumed was provided free of charge by the concept of the morning.
It is a specialized skill, Neil. The ability to sound relentlessly upbeat before the sun has fully risen is not to be underestimated. It requires a unique combination of caffeine, contractual obligation, and an almost superhuman ability to ignore the crushing meaninglessness of existence. For that, it appears, the going rate is £980,000.
It's a powerful statement on the value we, as a society, place on enforced jollity. It's almost as if the BBC has decided that the only way to combat the existential dread of the daily commute is to fire a solid gold cannonball of cheerfulness directly into the nation's ears. Now, Susan, let us not forget the news presenters, those stoic anchors of our daily reality. Surely their remuneration reflects the gravity and importance of their work.
Indeed, Neil. Several newsreaders feature prominently on the list. earning salaries that would allow them to purchase a new house every 6 months, should they so desire. This is, of course, for the vital public service of reading words off a screen in a calm and reassuring tone, even when the words themselves describe the complete and utter collapse of civilization as we know it.
It is a performance of immense skill. The ability to announce impending doom with the same gentle cadence one might use to read a shipping forecast is a rare talent. It's almost an act of public hypnosis. The world is on fire, and now over to Carol with the weather. Has there been any justification from the BBC itself? A press release, perhaps printed on paper made from pulped £50 notes?
The official line, Neil, is that they are operating in a competitive market. The implication being that if the BBC did not offer these presenters a king's ransom, they would be immediately poached by a rival broadcaster, presumably to do the exact same job for a slightly different but equally ludicrous sum of money.
A competitive market, the argument used to justify the transfer fees of footballers. It seems the ability to kick a ball and the ability to talk about kicking a ball are now, financially speaking, almost indistinguishable. A beautiful symmetry. Has there been any analysis on the per-word earnings of these presenters?
Our in-house linguistic auditors have been running the numbers, Neil. Preliminary findings suggest that for some of the higher earners, a single word uttered on air is valued approximately at the same price as a second-hand family car. A well-placed "and finally" could in theory fund a weekend city break.
A truly staggering thought. It gives a whole new meaning to the phrase, "every word counts." Let's circle back to the central issue, the £1.35 million man. Is there any breakdown of this figure? How much is for the football analysis, and how much is a retainer for his continued presence on social media, offering wry observations to his millions of followers?
That information is perhaps predictively not available. However, based on his on-screen time, we can estimate that he earns approximately £70,000 per match analysis. The remaining sum is believed to cover what is technically referred to as brand synergy and relatability overhead. This includes the cost of maintaining a public profile that is deemed to be both aspirational and reassuringly down-to-earth.
The relatability overhead, a fascinating concept, to be paid a sum that is fundamentally unrelatable to 99.9% of the population in order to be relatable. It's a paradox of such exquisite beauty that it almost justifies the expense. So, to summarize the situation, for anyone who has just tuned in, having fainted from shock, a man who talks about football is paid more than the Prime Minister. A woman who plays records is paid enough to buy a small island, and the people who tell us the world is ending are paid to do so with a comforting smile. Is that a fair and neutral assessment?
It is a brutally accurate and commendably neutral summary of the situation, Neil.
Thank you, Susan, for that sobering and frankly bewildering analysis. So, as license fee payers across the country sit down to watch the evening's entertainment, they can do so with the comforting knowledge that their contribution is helping to keep a chosen few in a lifestyle to which they will never become accustomed. A small price to pay for quality broadcasting. Good night.